and welcome. I'm Beth Wilson along with Brady Tinker, and this is Art Adventures, the show about art, its owners, the artists, and their stories.
Coming up, Brady will be talking to the people waiting in line to have their art appraised. I get to talk with artist Tally Moore, and you get to see if either this Picasso or Michelangelo sketch is for real.
The appraisers used in today's show represent some of the best certified appraisers throughout the U.S. Some even own and operate their own art galleries. If you'd like more information, pay attention to our closing credits or visit our website at artstories.net for specific names and locations. Joining us today is Jane C.H. Jacob of Jane C.H. Jacob Fine Arts in the Chicago area. And Jane, I am fascinated by what you do for a living because your specialty is stolen art and authentication. Let's start with stolen art. Who steals art?
All kinds of people steal art, Beth. Besides criminals, also disgruntled museum employees, people who think they can make a quick buck. I mean, when money is involved, crime gets involved. And so that's the reason that stolen art is happening and escalated to the extent it is. Today, 90% of stolen art is still never recovered, and it's basically an $8 to $9 billion business.
That's amazing, and that's so sad at the same time. As a consumer, how can you be sure that you're not purchasing stolen art?
Well, the first thing is when you decide to purchase an artwork, you need to know its line of provenance, and that would be the line of ownership. Whenever you can find a work that has clear provenance, the assurity of you not purchasing a stolen art is higher. The Art Loss Register is also a good place for people to check to see if the art they're considering is listed.
Authentication. I'm not familiar with what authentication is. Could you elaborate on that for us?
Authentication is whenever you're trying to attribute a work to a specific person. So it includes connoisseurship, art history, as well as scientific analysis often.
So you need to find an expert like yourself in order to figure out authentication.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, we're glad you're here. We know you'll see some interesting things today, and we're looking forward to those stories.
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you, Jane. And stay with us because our first art story is coming up in just a moment.
What 20th century artist reproduced thousands of paintings in the styles of the old masters and successfully sold them as originals? Tom Keating reproduced thousands of paintings in the styles of Rembrandt, Goya, Renoir, Monet, and Van Gogh, and many were successfully sold as originals. He always left a clue in his paintings to distinguish them from the originals. Some clues could only be revealed by X-ray.
I'm with Jerry Brown, who's brought in this beautiful Southwest landscape. And Jerry, I have a hard time containing myself. I've got a grin on my face, because I think I have some good news for you.
What is
but
it?
I'm not going to tell you quite yet. I'm not going to tell you quite yet. But I want you to tell me where you got this painting and where this painting's been.
Well, the past about 10 years it's been in my garage. It was my husband's grandmother's, and he thinks it's worth something. I didn't. I want to get rid of it. So before I can get rid of it, I thought I'd bring it here. My sister wanted to come. So I'm waiting for you to tell me.
And it's been hanging in the garage.
It's in the garage for about 10 years, since she passed away.
What I believe you have here is, first of all, a very filthy painting covered with years of cigarette smoke. What you think is a dingy, tan, boring painting is actually a very bright, crisp, punchy, impressionist painting by an artist named Walter Ufer. Now, Walter Ufer is one of the great American Western painters in history. Other than Remington and Russell, he was part of a group of artists called the Taos Founders. And other than Remington and Russell, they are considered the great Western painters. There were 11 of them. They get active in the Taos, New Mexico area about right after 1900 and are active for the next 20 or 30 years. Walter Ufer, of the 11, is certainly in the top half. This is obviously work he did around 1920, somewhere in the Taos, New Mexico area. I'll give you a bit of bad news.
What?
If it had
horses
and riders, either cowboys or Native Americans preferably, this picture would be worth $250?
$250?
No, we're talking $250,000 or $350,000. That's the bad news. The good news is, other than being dirty, it's in great condition.
Yeah.
The other good news is, this landscape is probably worth around $75,000 to $85,000. And it's the highlight of my day to give you this information.
Oh my God. How do you know if it's 75 or 80?
85.
85?
Once we get it clean, we'll
I hear
take a
100?
look. At that point, it's all a judgment call. You can't put a definitive number on it, but once it gets
Unbelievable.
clean, we'll have a better idea on its true value.
Unbelievable.
You know what? Let's go talk to some people in line.
I was closing out my mom's estate sale, and this was the picture that was on the frame.
Okay.
And basically, after 3 garage sales,
It was still there.
Yeah, we noticed the back of it, which was this.
Oh my. All right. When did you get this?
I got it probably like a month ago.
Okay, so you just got this.
Yes.
So you're pretty excited. You're standing here
I'm
in line
excited.
at 10 a.m. knowing you're going to see art critics and people who can hopefully value this Picasso picture for you.
Yes.
Well, what if you're rich?
That'd be a good thing.
Are you going to give any of the money to your girlfriend who noticed that the picture was on the back?
Oh, she'll be taken care of along with my mother.
She will. All right. Like several trips to Denny's, or you know.
No, that's fine. I know what it's worth first.
All right.
Okay, so we're looking at a piece that you brought in to share with us today. So can you tell us a little bit about this piece, where it is that you got it?
Well, I got it about 30 years or more ago at a garage sale.
A garage sale.
And my interest was piqued because on the back there is a swastika.
I'm going to turn that over in just a minute.
And my husband's family, his father's town was wiped out by the Nazis. There wasn't a man left in the city. So when I see something like that, I just gravitate toward it.
That's what gets your interest.
Yes.
So what we're looking at today is an original photograph, and the photograph is of Rembrandt's painting. And the interest is actually not so much in the art as we normally see, but specifically what's on the back of the photograph. And on the back of the photograph, what we see is the swastika from Adolf Hitler's regime during World War II. When the Nazis came into the German settlements, as well as Austria, as well as Holland, and a number of the other European cities, they confiscated a lot of artwork. And the thing that is really, if there's any highlight about this event happening, is that they actually documented each piece of artwork that they confiscated. Now, a lot of that Hitler considered degenerate, and as you probably know, was sent out of the country, and those pieces of artwork funded the war efforts. Also, there were a number of pieces which Adolf Hitler actually had a plan to start his own museum, which was in his hometown in Austria. Whenever this was done, I imagine when the war ended, that an American soldier took this photograph somehow or another, and it came into America, which is where you bought it at the garage sale. So about the value of this piece, first tell us what you paid for the piece.
About $5, I think.
$5.
Maybe 10 at the most.
Okay. It's very difficult to appraise a piece for value such as this. Certainly, it is a photograph, it's a historic photograph, but it's actually the historic event which gives this piece such value. This is very emotional for me because as I cry, my area of expertise is stolen art. And to actually see a piece that came through the Nazi regime, to photograph a work that was taken, and all the ties with it, it's very, very difficult, but this would have great value in documenting that history. So much like a historic document, I would probably say minimally there would be a lot of museums and a lot of historic organizations that would almost covet this piece. I would say that you might see somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000 on this piece. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Stay in line. We'll be back with more appraisals right after this. What great art forger was accused of trafficking valuable paintings to the Nazis during World War II? Han von Meegeren was acquitted of collaborating with the Nazis, but was convicted of fraud. He successfully forged 7 paintings by Johann Vermeer and earned at least $2.8 million from selling his forged work under famous names.
Karen, thank you so much for bringing in this painting. It's a pretty nice thing to see. What can you tell me about it?
I know that it's a Yokohama Taikon, and it was given to my parents in the 50s. My aunt and uncle purchased it from an art dealer in sometime after World War II in the 40s.
Okay, that's good information to have. Taikon, as we refer to him, was a very influential painter in his own day. He was responsible for a whole school of Japanese painting that fused traditional subject matters with sort of a Western way of lighting them. So a Western view of traditional Japanese subject. And you can see that very clearly in this painting. He's famous for works of Mount Fuji as one of his favorite subjects. And so we see a lot of Fuji. I like your story. It's important to know when this painting was purchased. He was so popular, his paintings during his lifetime were very expensive. He made it as an artist.
Really?
And reproductions were being done during his lifetime. So being purchased in the 40s is not an absolute guarantee, but at least we know it has a possibility. I'm not 100% on this painting. It's very well done. The shading, it's comparable to some of his other works. There's a very nice subtle use of gold in here, which is probably a little hard to see. But the couple things that make me just wonder a little bit, the signature here is not quite as bold as often his will be.
Okay.
And also when I check the seal, I have a book that has some known seals, and this varies a little bit from some of those seals. However, that isn't that there weren't some other seals, so it's not impossible that this is correct. But it would certainly require further research. And in a case like this, I would say probably having it vetted in Japan would be necessary to get a top-end price.
Okay.
But assuming that we went through that process and it was deemed as correct, and it has a possibility, do you have any idea of what the Taikon market is right now?
I have no idea. None whatsoever.
You know he's worth some money, though.
I do.
Yeah.
I did little research, but not too much.
Well, on the high end, his paintings there's a couple paintings that have brought at auction over $100,000.
Oh my gosh.
Probably one like this, we would estimate a little more conservatively, like with certification, we might say something like $50,000 to $70,000.
Oh my God.
So it might be worth spending a little more time checking it out.
Definitely.
So is that good news?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, I had no idea.
As a child, she drew paper dolls and later wanted to grow up to be a designer in New York City. Today, she paints the beautiful Texas skies that she lives under. Tally Moore joins us. Tally, good to have you with us.
Thank you, Beth. It's good to be here.
What I think is so interesting about your artwork is that your landscapes are unadorned and there are no people in your paintings. Why is that?
Well, we're losing wilderness so quickly that I would like to preserve some on canvas. I want people to look at the landscape without the hand of man touching it. So I remove things that I take snapshots every place I go, particularly of the skies, and then work them into a beauty that I see as healing the land that's scarred.
You mentioned that you take snapshots, and those are the subjects that you use for your paintings?
Yes, I don't use other people's work, or people have sent me sunset pictures, for instance, and that's nice of them, but I stick with my own notes, field notes on from a camera.
So every painting that you have is a subject of a place that we could go and visit. Do you paint landscapes outside of Texas, or do you just enjoy
Not
painting
anymore.
just Texas?
I'm a regional painter. I used to live in New Mexico, but coming back home to Texas had its effect. And the skies in Texas, in the part that I live in, are dominant and beautiful. And I think they are a symptom of what we're doing to the land. The sky can show trash And where I live, there aren't industries and things that foul the atmosphere. It's just beautiful.
The air quality is certainly suffering,
Yes.
and so that's evident through some of your paintings.
And I would like to say, stop while we still can.
And that's how, as an environmentalist, I suppose you have a voice.
One of them, yes. It is. It would have to be explained, but I think that people who choose art usually are seeking beauty, and the longer, like poetry or beautiful music, the longer you expose yourself to that, the more healing takes place in what you perceive and what you do and how you feel.
For a collector that is interested in your art, will that buyer ever know exactly which particular landscape this is a painting of? Do you attach that to your work, or is that part of the mystery?
No, sometimes they are named, they're given place names. Other times, really mood names or time of year are more appropriate. I'm not sure I would always remember where they are. This is a place near where I live. No, it isn't. That's out in West Texas. But the landscape that I usually paint is a rolling pasture near where I live.
And you're in what part of Texas?
Northeast Texas, up by the Red River.
There's a big difference between painting West Texas and East
There
Texas.
really is. There really is. This painting is the desert when it rains, and that's spectacular. West Texas people are overwhelmed by the wildflowers.
They certainly
are.
And
I was too.
Well, I know you're overwhelmed by the environment, and for that we're grateful.
Thank
Tally
you.
Moore, thank you very much.
Thank you, Beth.
We'll be back with more art adventures after this.
What Caravaggio painting was stolen from the Oratorio di San Lorenzo in 1969 and rumored to have been in possession of the Italian Mafia? In October of 1969, Caravaggio's Nativity with St. Francis and St. Lawrence was stolen from the Oratorio di San Lorenzo Museum. Valued in the tens of millions of dollars, the destruction of the masterpiece has been mentioned in an Italian mafia trial report.
Well, I'm here with Shirley Reisner, and Shirley's husband, for many years, was a foot doctor. We're going to find out why that's important in just a minute. But Shirley, you have a couple of unbelievable pieces of art that we hope are originals from the Michelangelo collection.
Well, these sketches were given to us by Greer Garson, a famous actress of her time.
How did Greer Garson and your husband get together?
She was a patient of my husband. My husband was a podiatrist in Beverly Hills. This is a letter from Greer Garson when she gave us these sketches as a Christmas gift.
Okay. If we find out today that these pictures are worth $1 million, $2 million, what does that do for you?
I would sell them.
You would?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I think they belong in a museum or in a multi-million-dollar home. And I don't have that. And I would like to see them in a museum.
Let's see what appraiser Jane C.H. Jacobs has to say about them.
You've brought with you some amazing letters which show provenance. Probably the most important letter is Armand Hammer's letter.
Yes.
Based on the provenance of Armand Hammer, who owns a museum, who's a huge art collector, who looks at a lot of artwork, and I'm certain had his conservators look at the pieces, then we have the provenance research to authenticate the beginning of the resources that we need to do to know that these are really by Michelangelo. Michelangelo's work does not often come up for sale because the majority of the old master work such as his is already included in museum collections. So that makes these pieces rare, very rare. Now, certainly the drawings are not going to bring in as much as his paintings or his sculpture because drawings don't bring in as much, but they are still highly, highly valuable, highly coveted, and highly collected. So you have fabulous documentation. You have incredible pieces which have been preserved so nicely.
On both sides.
I'm going to show you because it's actually been framed where you can hang it either way, and so you can see it from either side. I suppose if you could ever get tired of a Michelangelo, you could switch it around and have lots of them. I don't know how you could. So I guess the value that I would give to these is going to be a little bit subjective in regard to we don't have the research that would really tell us exactly what they would be. But Michelangelo's works, when they come onto the markets, sell in the high millions. So based on that, I would say that you are looking at maybe in the $1 million plus area for your drawings.
That's fantastic.
Did you expect to get that news today?
No, I didn't, but I was hoping for it.
Don't walk away. We'll be right back with the answer to this art fact. Which two of Edvard Munch's paintings, collectively valued in the millions, were recently stolen during an armed robbery from a museum in Oslo, Norway? Edvard Munch's Scream and The Madonna were taken during an armed robbery of a museum in Oslo, Norway on August 23, 2004.
Well, that wraps up today. Here is a list of the galleries and sponsors that made today's show possible. On behalf of Brady Tinker and myself, Beth Wilson, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.